Hi guys, welcome to Rufio, it's Joe here. Apologies if I sound a little bit funny. I've had to do a slightly different setup, so I'm sat a little bit further away from the camera that I record on than usual. So hopefully the microphone picks up my voice okay, but there we go. That's enough of the apologies. As you can see, we're back with the Rufio mat, which is nice for a change, given that we had to use the Noble Knights one for a few videos. So yeah, we're back on the regular mat. Thank you very much for checking in, guys. If you haven't already, don't forget to hit the subscribe button because there's an awful lot of viewers out there, and I do check my analytics. I don't know whether it's a sign of confidence or not, but we do get a lot of people out there who aren't subscribed to do watch the videos, so I'd absolutely love for you to join us for future videos. Now, if you're checking in, I'm sure you're already very much aware that this is a Lightsworn deck profile, JD Turbo in particular. What I wanted to try and do was stick as close to pure as possible for this build, but also keep it on a budget, because I know there's a lot of players out there that do want to run this as cheap as possible. So I've picked whatever budget options that I can to go along with. There will be better choices, which feel free to ask in the videos if there's anything that you would like to take out, or things that you think might work well in here, whatever. Just let me know. If you have any questions, of course, let me know below as well. But we'll get stuck in. Like I say, the intention is to stick as pure as possible and on a budget. So hopefully this is to your satisfaction. So we start off with triple Judgement Dragon because, well, it's JD Turbo, so you do need 3, of course. And you definitely should be running less than 3 on JD Turbo. You want to see this as quickly as possible, and hopefully by running at 3, you'll see at least 1 in your opening hand. There are 1 or 2 cards in here that can help fetch this, but 3 is ideal. I mean, there's a chance that you're going to mill them out and that kind of thing. So, of course, you have to keep that in mind. This is the boss monster deck. This is one of your main win conditions. There are a lot of times out there when you summon this card, your opponent's actually going to be in real trouble, because not a lot of decks are built to handle this, in as much as, you know, although there's a lot more protection and stuff in the game now than there was at the time when this card was released, this is still a very, very strong boss monster, and a lot of people don't like seeing Judgement Dragon dropped, especially if it can resolve its effect. Usually, you're in a really good position to go on and win. We then move on to our Lightsworn monsters, so we've got triple Wulf. I think this is pretty self-explanatory, really. You mill it and then you get it for free. It's a free beat stick on board. There's nothing better than milling multiples of these. It's just insane. And of course, in a deck that is built just to spam cards into the graveyard, perfect way to do it. Easy enough to get out. We then move on to triple Raiden. So triple Raiden is really, really strong. The fact that it can mill as part of its effect as well as its cost. It's a level 4 tuner, which gives us some other plays. It's a warrior, so it's easy enough to search. It's just a really, really strong card. It's probably one of your best normal summons in the entire deck, arguably the best normal summon. So yeah, absolutely fantastic. You have to run 3 of it, no doubt in my mind. I've then got 2 Felis, Lightsworn Archer. So Felis only gets summoned if she gets milled off a monster's effect and not off a spell card. So the sad thing is that if you charge a Light Brigade and she gets milled, that's it, she's lost. So we just run the 2. It can also be a little bit bricky as well in hand, but there are other ways to get it out. But obviously just being able to trib, pop, and then mill some cards is pretty nice. And of course it's a tuner, so yeah. We then have triple Lumina. One of the classic cards. It just, again, it ditches cards in your hand that are bricks, stuff like Wulf, stuff like Felis, and then gives you the opportunity to summon other bits back, including the card that you've just pitched itself, providing there's a valid target at the time. Yeah, it is what it is, especially in the Link format now as well. It's a really, really good way to build a board really quick and go into plays like Curious and that kind of thing. Or, of course, you can get something like a Felis or a Raiden and then go into a level 7 Synchro. We've got then 2 Lila. So this is just good back row removal. This format is actually quite back row heavy on the whole. So having options to remove the back row is really, really important. Otherwise, you are going to start to struggle. And yeah, I think Lila at 2 is absolutely perfect. Just being able to pop cards. It's level 4, so it's got some other synergy with the deck. But yeah, just an all-round good card. I've got 1 Ehren. This is more just because it's a personal favourite of mine. I've always loved this card. I have a Light Destruction one that I don't have here in this video, but I do have one. That sort of it avoided me my entire time until I came back to the game. So I always like to put this in. It is good for when your opponent goes on the defensive, or, you know, you happen to be playing against crawlers or something like that. I suppose it's good as well. But it is a warrior, it's searchable. It's another name for Judgement Dragon, and, you know, it's got some other synergy, level 4, warrior, all of that exciting stuff. We then move on to the last of our actual Lightsworn monsters from the main deck. So we've got one Manova, little Manova this one is. So yeah, again, it just gets your plays going when it goes to grave, it gets to mill cards. It's a level 3 tuner. Yeah, it's just another target, it's good. We then have some of our non Lightsworn monsters. So we've got triple Black Dragon Collar Serpent. And then I've got the one Wyvern Buster. I don't think that you need more than this. This can only be summoned off Banishing Darks, of which there aren't loads. So there's a very select few cards that you can banish for this. You could potentially up it to 2 so you can keep resolving it. But I think 1 is fine. And the other thing as well is if you're going to mill, statistically you're more likely to mill one of these now, which doesn't really matter because you need to be able to just do the loop once essentially. So yeah, you just want minimal chances to actually mill this out and end up with these dead. So yeah, it is what it is. And then of course these are just free special summons if nothing else. They are level 4, so they do give you some options for your rank 4 plays, but also for building your links. We then have 4 one-offs, so we've got 1 Eclipse Wyvern. So fortunately we can banish this with Black Dragon Collar Serpent. And one of the issues that this deck had more recently was the banning of Snow. Snow made this really, really good so that you could just run a small engine just to sort of abuse rank 4 options. And this was obviously one of your ways to get Judgement Dragon in hand. So we are limited on the ways that we can get rid of this now, but the Black Collar Serpent should help us get there. It does just get JD to hand, and that's basically the idea. We have 1 Edging Sabers. Now, the idea behind this was something I was using in my Burning Abyss deck, and although the level 3 part doesn't really come into effect here, it is just a good way to climb links, and it is also another dark target so that you can banish it, and just climb your plays a little bit. It's also really cool for putting stuff like Wulf back and then milling them off, which is really nice. We have 1 Phantom Skyblaster so that we can generate tokens and just go into plays from there. And that's basically it really. It's just there for link climbing. The card's broken, and it is a dark, I suppose, in level 4, so there is that synergy, I guess, there as well. And then we round off our monsters with Glow Bulb. So Glow Bulb, again, you get to mill a card, which is pretty neat in a deck that wants to get monsters into the grave. It's a really good way to do it. It's level 1, so it's got some additional synergy later on, as you'll see. Yeah, just a really cool card for link climbing and giving you some other options. We then move on to our spell lineup. We don't run any traps in this particular build. So, we have 1 Monster Reborn. This Monster Reborn is what it is. I don't really need to elaborate, I don't believe. We've got 1 Reinforcement of the Army. Again, you run a ton of warrior targets. This is just absolutely broken in the deck. Got 1 Foolish Burial. Sadly uncommon, not in a nice rarity. But it is what it is. It just dumps cards to the grave of your choice. Pretty nice to have options to do that. We have 1 Regeki, recently upgraded to Secret, which is real nice. No money for ultis, unfortunately. But just going second, you just want to blow your opponent out. This can help get rid of problematic monsters, or at least bait things, so that your Judgement Dragon's effects can go off. We have triple charge of Light Brigade. So, I mean, this card's nuts, as you already know. Getting to mill and then search basically any Lightsworn monster to hand is just crazy. This card's still very, very, very strong in the modern game. We have triple Solar Recharge. So again, this is another strong card. Not quite as strong as Charge Light Brigade, although I tend to prefer it. I suppose over time, Charge is beginning to win me over now that I realise how important its effects are. But ditching 1 sort of brick out of your hand and then draw 2 and mill 2 is really, really strong. Yeah, nuts card, and I think 3 is a must run. We then have triple Twin Twisters. So again, back row is really, really heavy this format. This is just going to give you another way to out problematic cards that are sat in the back row and just making your life difficult, really. And ditch 1 so you can ditch like a bricky card or something like that and blow out 2 back row. And of course, by running 3, it increases your chances of seeing it, although it is more likely that you'll mill a copy, at least you're more likely to have 1 in hand in the first place. And then we round off our spells and our last cards in our main deck with triple Call by the Grave. So the deck is quite susceptible to hand traps. It sort of relies on the normal summon quite heavy and their effects to go off. This is going to help protect your plays. It's also going to get rid of problematic monsters, of which the graveyard's really, really important in the modern game. So being able to play through cards is really, really handy. We have no side deck options, unfortunately, for this. As always, we tend to avoid them because I do think that they're really sort of based on what you're playing against locally and that kind of thing. Obviously, if you go to regionals, there's correct options for that. I'm not really sure this is the kind of deck that you'd be taking to regional, but good luck if you do. So anyway, moving on to the extra deck, we have 2 Manova. I think 2 is fine. I've never felt the need for a 3rd, but 2 is always great. Just the fact that you can pop stuff with this, you're getting free draws out of it. It's really easy to make. It's another name for Judgement Dragon. This card is really, really strong. You'll see if you play it and try it out yourself. We've got 1 Tornado Dragon. Tornado Dragon, again, just to get rid of problematic back row. I mean, we've got access to this rank 4 toolbox, so using some of those options is just really handy. Tornado Dragon is just a really good choice. You could use something like Abyss Dweller if you want to put your opponent to trouble. It just depends on what you're playing against. We have one Bajinki Amaterasu. So again, usually this was something I've always ran in my rank for toolboxes. This is potentially something you could cut for Abyss Dweller, I guess. If you're going to cut any, this would probably be the one. But it's one of those things where it just, although it costs you 3 months to get it, you're going to immediately get a material back based off its effect. It's really good for getting those plays going. And it is a light as well, so it gives you options to go into Curious. We have one Borrowed Savage Dragon. Again, if you're forced to go first, you want to put yourself in a position where you've got the ability to play somewhat and negate through plays, and then move on from there. And because we've upped the ceiling a little bit with things like Phantom Skyblaster, we've got access to links a little bit better, which is going to give us the opportunity to go into this and sort of benefit from its effect. So it does give us some going first options. Michael's just a really good bit of spot removal. Again, it's also another name for Judgement Dragon. It's level 7, so it's really easy to access. And of course, it does mills like everything else and all the other sort of standard benefits of Lightsworn. We've got one Sci-Frame Lord Omega. Card is really, really strong. There's a reason it's at 1. Ripping cards out your opponent's hand. Again, a really good option for if you're forced to go first. You can make this and put them at an immediate disadvantage from your turn. We then move on to our links, because that's all we have left in here. So we've got one Link Karibo. This is for your token plays and that kind of thing. You can use it for Glow Up Bulb and that kind of stuff. It just gives you options. It's a good way to protect yourself if you get really stuck as well. We then have 2 of the standard Nightmares. This one's actually kind of pricey now, but it's one of them cards that people should really have in their collection anyway. And then we have one Nightmare Cerberus, just good utility cards with reasonable arrows, the ability to draw if co-linked when using their effects, amongst other things. We have one Underclock Taker. Again, this is just going to help us go into like OTKs and that kind of thing. I mean, if you can get like a Judgement Dragon below this, you're pretty set. But any beefy monster, it's just going to zap them down to 0 most of the time, and then you're just going to hit over for big damage. We have one Decode Talker. The arrows on this are broken. The fact that it's got a built-in protection is really, really nice. So again, just a solid choice to have and really, really easy to make. We have one Curious. Again, it's a Lightsworn deck. Why wouldn't you run it? Get into just Foolish Burial, basically anything that you like, and then get into mill cards is just broken. And then the fact that when it dies, it adds cards back is just absolutely nuts. We have one Topologic Trisbania. Again, back row is a problem in this deck, and we can link climb into this easy enough. And then, of course, we can switch summon something to the zone and just blow out the back row. We're not really setting back row ourselves, so it's pretty strong. And then we round off with MEK Night Crusader Avramax. So this is my replacement for Boral Sword. It's a really good budget option. I think it's like, I don't know, if you're going in Great British pounds, it's like £14 or something like that. And I think that, especially when you compare it to something like Boral Sword, which is like £50–60 as like a going rate, this is a really, really sort of budget option. It's something that you could possibly trade into if you've got a few trades going spare, or if you've got the money that you can sort of save up. It's a reasonable amount that it's worth dropping the money on. It's not going to see a reprint for a little while, so it is worth picking up. And I do honestly think that this is a really strong card on its own, not just even as a replacement for the Boral Sword. I think it is just a really solid choice. And again, it is something that you can do on a budget. And that is it for the deck, guys. Nice and short and sweet. As I said, the intention was to go through this and give you something to use on a budget, was the idea, and be able to play all the old cool cards. I mean, this is my absolutely favourite archetype, so it's always really nice to be able to get this out and show it off to you guys, and just take advantage of the fact that I'm sure some of you love this deck as much as I do. Hopefully one day we'll get the right support to make it good again, like a top tier deck. That'd be really nice. But thank you very much for checking in, guys. If you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe. Big shout out to Mark at Manascrew for giving me the space to record these videos. Again, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Hit the notification bell as well. Maybe go crazy. Thank you very much for checking in, guys, and I will see you in the next one. I'm afraid that's all we have time for in this video. If by chance you haven't had enough of listening to me waffle at you through a video about a children's card game, you can follow me on Facebook and Twitter. The links are on the screen, or if you're feeling really lazy, you can click the links in the description. While you're at it, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on future content too. It'll make me smile, I promise. And who can ask for more than that? Thanks for watching, see you in the next one.